Welcome back. It's Salam Media. It's time for the Friday Tech Talk edition. And this Tech Talk Friday, we talk to a young woman by the name of Bahia Khan. Now, Bahia Khan obviously is a game developer, and she initially conceptualized a game as a honors project initially. And this was part of a design degree at the University of Witwatersrand. She is a South African game developer, and her team took home the Best Student Game Award at the Independent Games Developers Conference in San Francisco. Now, Khan and her team, Claire Meikle, A.B. Meikle, and Tim Flusk, won the award for their work on After Hours. Now, After Hours is a full motion video game about a night spent alone with a young woman suffering from borderline personality disorder and experiencing the world from her perspective. The award carries a prize of $3,000. Now, initially, as mentioned, the concept of the game is her honors project. We're going to talk to her a bit more about what exactly was the inspiration behind this. And she also wrote a script for it and played Lilith Gray, who is the main character in the game. And Mikkel was a cinematographer and worked on sound, and Flask was the programmer in this regard. We are now going to chat to Bahia Khan, who is a game developer, all about this to talk to us a bit more. Bahia Khan, Assalamu alaikum, Tumilang, Goeie Aand. Hoping you are well and in good spirits this evening. Welcome to Friday Night Live with me, ST.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Awesome. It's great to have you with us. Okay, so I've got a number of questions. This is not a typical, work interview. Hey, just relax, all
Yeah.
right? So, first things first. I mean, a young woman hailing from South Africa, winning an international gaming award. That stuff just doesn't happen overnight. Neither does a honors degree project land you an international award, right, with a price of around $3,000. First things first, as a young girl growing up, were you an avid gamer on some consoles, or how did this whole inspiration to gaming land you here, or was it just part and parcel of your studies?
No, so like growing up, I didn't play video games at all. We didn't have PlayStations or anything. I think I played a Bug's Life on PlayStation once or something. But other
Okay.
than that, I wasn't sure ever which like one direction I wanted to go into or whatever. But when I was like, I think at the end of grade 11, I went for a Wits Open and I saw that game design was one of the like booths there. And it like seemed interesting. I don't know. I thought like before I didn't even know. I didn't consider who actually made video games, like that it was an actual job. And I think also like coming from Lenasia, which is where I come from, this very like
Okay, so that makes two of us, representing
um,
Southside, you know. Yeah.
yeah. I think that there's like very set career paths for us, like what we're supposed to go into and whatever. So
Well, on that point, there is the so-called stigma that, oh, you need to be either doctor, lawyer, medical staff, and then there's the likes of
accountant,
you and I. Okay, and then there's the likes of you and I, broadcaster and a
yeah.
gamer. Hey, game developer.
Look at
All
us
right.
breaking the mold.
Yes, exactly. Alhamdulillah. So
Yeah,
that's how you
no,
were doing this.
definitely.
Continue. Hmm.
Yeah, so I found out about this degree. I thought it seemed interesting, but I didn't really think about it again. Also, like I kept at the booth, there were only like white men, and I think like that is how it goes in the games industry. Like it's predominantly men and predominantly white. So I didn't really feel like it was, a sort of like career path I'd want to go into anyway. And then someone from my school, who was like a few years older than me, who's black, and I'm friends with him. I met him, went for like this Africa leadership camp, and he was there. At this point, he was already at university, and he told me he was doing design. So like this is when I think like, representation is so important, because then you start seeing yourself like, even though he's a man, he's still not white. So, and like we went to the same high school. So it felt like if someone from Soweto, which is like so close to Lens, someone I went to school with, was able to do this sort of thing and enjoying it, I thought, well, maybe like it would be like a potential career option, even though I like don't play games or anything. Not that you have to like be a gamer to be a game designer. That it doesn't translate to that. But then in matric, when I was like really struggling with what I wanted to study, and my mother was like, I have to go to university and all of these things, I thought like game design seemed the best from all of the options, because it combined things that I enjoyed, like the whole like creative aspect with like writing, art, and design and that sort of thing, but also like the programming aspect of things. So it just seemed like a good balance.
Now you mentioned, African male from obviously Soweto. Now Lens, obviously we are in the south of Johannesburg, and it's got Kasi vibes. We are, very diverse and cultural. With all of these kind of things, right? Um, I want to talk about now. You mentioned that you found this enticing in a sense where, okay, one side it's male dominated. On the other hand, there's, I don't want to create racial lines, but you mentioned, okay, there's many Caucasian people who are into that kind of development. Yes, there aren't many. It's like finding an Indian rugby player. I highly doubt there is one, right? If you get my drift, yeah, okay. But you mentioned at that store, you found this interesting. Now, you then went on to the concept of this whole game is about a character which you play, and I've seen the video, a clip that is shared, where it's a game about a night spent alone with a young woman suffering from borderline personality disorder and experiencing the world from her perspective. Now, the inspiration for this personality here, right? There could have been a number of personalities you could have chosen. Maybe, let's say, a recovering drug addict who's still paranoid coming off of his whatever. There could be a PTSD soldier coming from a war. There could have been somebody who might have been a house burgled into. This thing here, okay, so on the one hand, obviously, you're going for the pro feminine kind of character here. But what's the inspiration behind this specific type of a person? Borderline personality disorder. What's the vision here? I'd like to understand that a bit more.
So when I made this game for my honors project, we were told that we had one academic year to make a game of anything. Like it could be a board game, a physical game, a digital game, whatever. And I was very excited by this prospect because before we were only given like a few weeks to work on something, not an entire year. So I thought if I am spending of my life doing something, I want to do it on something that's like important to me firstly, something I won't get bored of, and something that I think is worth me spending so much time on. And there's like a number of issues, that I thought like I wanted to make a game about. But then at this time, at that time, a lot of women in my life, and especially like women from Lenasia, and I think that like in the colored Indian community, it's very sort of like taboo, Muslim community as well, to speak about like sexual abuse and that sort of thing and rape and whatever. And someone that I was very good friends with for many years told me about somebody having raped her for a very long time during her childhood. And she never ever told her parents, like she still has not told her parents about this just because she doesn't have the environment to be able to speak about these sort of things. And she's not the only one. There's so many people that I know, so many women who haven't been raped, they've been molested, sexually assaulted in some way. And it's just like I kept being involved in these sort of conversations and that kind of thing. So I thought I definitely want to make a game about somebody who has been sexually abused, because I feel like a lot of the time when you think of a video game, the protagonist is often seen as a hero, right? And I thought like, what do I want a hero to look like? And I thought a hero can be somebody, you're not like, I'm not saying that, wow, a person who's been sexually abused, like, go you're so strong and all of those things, because you shouldn't have to be strong, because you shouldn't have to have been in that position at all, you know? But for me, a hero can look like a number of things. And in this instance, it was a young woman who had been sexually abused and has borderline personality disorder as a result of that. So the thing with borderline personality disorder is that it's a very misunderstood mental illness. It's like not a lot of people know about it, or if they do know about it, it's because they've watched a movie and seen a sort of inaccurate representation, of this mental illness. And a lot of the time, people who have it been abused in childhood, or maybe not necessarily like abuse inflicted directly onto them, but they've grown up in very sort of traumatic spaces and that sort of thing. So it was a link for me, yeah, since a lot of borderline people who have borderline have been sexually or physically, emotionally abused. It made sense for me to have the story have both elements of it.
Very interesting, and the way you've chosen this type of character. Obviously, it's sad to know that these things are still prevalent. We have the 16 days of activism, and I think this doesn't do enough justice to the injustices for women abuse in our respective communities, etc. Looking at the perspective, and I saw the clip, and we are going to share the clip, if we may, with many people to also acclimatize to the perspective that you've come with. Now, obviously, playing Lilith Grey, the main character in the game, I want to understand, and I saw the character laying there in, I think I don't know if it's in a studio apartment or a hotel room, but I kind of gauge like a hotel kind of a vibe or something there, I don't know. But, and then there's a pop-up message coming up there, and then you mentioned in your acceptance speech, when you were trying to obviously tape the hair in your hotel room, you were having the conversation with Cole. You were like, I know that I might not deserve to win, and there's such good, amazing people nominated, but please, can I win? And this is what you said in your acceptance speech. Talk to us about this. I see something catchy here, but and I can tell by that expression. Tell me about this. Yeah.
Oh, so when I won the IGF award and my acceptance speech, then yeah, I prepared an acceptance speech because I felt like I didn't want to get my hopes up. I had this like incorrect perception that because like we were the only team nominated from a third world country, with like people from, Australia and like France and all of these things, that somehow that would be to us, which is complete nonsense, because coming from Africa, South Africa, lands, or wherever you come from, it's not a sort of, it doesn't like tell you your intellect or your capabilities and that sort of thing. But I just had that like very incorrect idea of like myself and my capabilities. So when I was in my hotel, like getting dressed for the awards, my hair was I have very big hair. I even had to plait it, even though it's a bit, suspicious looking now. But yeah, I kept trying to like sort it out. And while I was like, like using a hair iron on it and stuff, I was thinking and like speaking to Allah and saying like, maybe I don't deserve to win. And I kept thinking of all the things I did wrong in my life. Like maybe I was mean to this person. And I kept thinking that's probably why, I won't win. Just going a bit insane. And when I really thought about it, I wanted to win. I mean, like, I feel like we did deserve it, So I mentioned all of that in like my final acceptance speech. And I felt like, phew, like obviously knew and came through. And the deserving group won.
Now, obviously, your team comprising of yourself and a few other people, obviously, Claire Meikle, AB Meikle, Tim Flusk, who was obviously working on the programming. and sound as well in this regard. Hats off to your team there as well. Now, talk to us 2020 and what's moving on for you now. What are you currently busy with? And what's in store for you? Are you perhaps looking at going a bit more deeper into game development? Gaming is so
Yeah.
diverse right now. You've got the likes of like your open play games. You've got the likes of your, Call of Duty. You've got your Grand Theft Auto, which is a fantastic game, by the way, which I love. There's FIFA, for those, there's EFCs. There are strategy games. What type of gaming entices you most? Yes, you've made a story of a person who has been affected that you knew of. In the future, would you create an entire game concept around a scenario from your community? Because I love the fact that you've actually taken initiative of that, because it's rife in the community, violence, sexual abuse, etc.
Yeah.
Put it into a game and into a gaming perspective. But what else is there in store for you?
So I feel like everything that I do will always have an element of lens in it because I mean I've grown up here for like forever, so it's always gonna be there. I was actually just on like a Twitch stream before this speaking about a game that I made in 2018 about a girl from Lens and just speaking about sort of like the legacy of apartheid and how that like manifests, So even though like I was born, born free or whatever, and never lived through apartheid, but my parents did, and I feel like the the after effects of apartheid and that sort of thing is very still present in our community. So I made a game about that. You know how it is, like especially with like Indian people in lanes or and even like colored people and that sort of thing where I speak about both because I'm mixed, so it's like often just speak about both of them. But like it's always like, if you fair skinned or if you have any sort of like Eurocentric features, you're viewed as more beautiful than somebody who's more dark skinned, which is, completely disgusting. But I do understand where it comes from because our parents have been like so whitewashed, and into like thinking all of these things. And I still feel like a lot of the time, white success or white people are still thought of as like the bar of success, when it comes to people
I
of
agree.
color. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, and like, even if you're like dating someone like a white person who converts to Islam or something, people think it's an achievement, because you got like a white person or whatever. And just like all of those things do feature in this game that I made. Because I feel like I don't see that sort of thing in video games. And you asked me what sort of games do I like to play. I like to play
Yeah.
games that I can relate to, So I
Okay.
don't out past date, or like the after effects of it. And even if my games aren't necessarily fun, because obviously there's nothing like fun about being mentally ill and like racism and that sort of thing. I think it's important. So I don't really care about making games for like the entertainment value of it. If it's like helpful to people, then that's what's important to me. But on that note, I also like playing games that have like very like crazy imagery, like harder games or just games that make me laugh because the stuff that are happening are so wild. So yeah,
I
but
kind of gauge a bit of a emo, goth sense. Don't know how good I am on judgment there
yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
a
no, no, no,
neurologist. I can tell. Yeah. And so, okay.
yeah,
On point there. You're right. So, it's great to see this vision that you have. And, we're so proud of you, man, coming from
thank
Lens,
you.
Lenesia, alhamdulillah, doing big things and not forgetting everything is by the command and the favor and the raham and mercy of our Rabb, our Creator, of the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But yeah, for other people who are aspiring, because we appeal to not only a audience who's mature, we appeal to a younger audience as well. All right. Friday night live is a open audience, so you're not limited to anybody, right? For someone who's aspiring, maybe there is a female maybe there's a young male, a youngster, and he's boosting on GTA or on some other game, or he's going through something right now, or maybe there is a student right now within the gaming faculty, and he wants to portray a story, some words of inspiration you could share to that particular person. I mean, obviously, you were inspired by something. Maybe you could inspire someone in concluding.
I think that like when I started my degree, I was very unhappy for like a year and a half in there, and I actually wanted to drop out because I felt very different to my peers and to like the sort of vision a lot of people had for their games. It was mainstream, a lot of games, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that obviously works. You know, there's a reason like GTA and that sort of thing are so popular. So if you want to make a game about that sort of thing, that's fine. I think the wonderful thing about video games is that it's so diverse. You can make like serious, important games or games purely entertainment, for people to unwind. And it's not like that means less by any means. So I think whatever game you want to make, I think don't try and like appeal to, I think, an American audience or whatever, because I feel like that's an issue sometimes that we have where we don't tell our own stories. We try and sort of make it a more global experience, where it's like more palatable for American audiences. Whatever. But we should, learn how to embrace people from different sort of cultures and that kind of thing. And I think whatever you do, just make sure that the story is told as honestly, or not like your personal story, whatever story you're telling is told as personally as possible, and that you don't feel like you are doing anything to let yourself down, like by making the game. You're not like including content you're not comfortable with or that sort of thing.
I'd like to have a game like like Gauteng, COJ, City of Joburg, and the ripeness and the things that happen here, similar to a GTA thing. But anyway, that's just my dream and vision. I'm no game developer, I'm a broadcaster, but anyway, maybe you and I can work on a project in the future. Who knows? Bahia Khan, Jazakallah khair for your time. It's been great having you on air with us, and all the best on your future endeavors, man.
Thank you so
You're
much.
doing big things, and may you grow from strength to strength, and may you be a means of inspiration, and may Allah accept all of our efforts, inshallah. Take care.
Amin.
Jazakallah for your time.
Jazakallah. Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Bahia Khan, a game developer, hailing all the way from Johannesburg, Lenasia. And yeah, so she's obviously won an award. Fantastic stuff, man. A international gaming award. It was a story about a night spent alone with a young woman suffering from borderline personality disorder. So nicely put the way Bahia, mentioned this personality disorder that people actually live with and that they have. Yeah, man, it's we've got so much that we need to make shukr for. Hey, it's just for me a moment here just to reflect that we're short of nothing, yet we always just want more and more. But hey, that is insan. It's who we are. We turn only to our Allah to guide us and to protect us. It's 25 minutes after 8. We're taking the sheet break. Thereafter, when we come back, we're gonna have a powerful session with Nazir Jamal. And that's in the Men Can Cook. It's called the My Kitchen edition. And we're gonna see what he's gonna be cooking up this evening. So there and more still to come. Stay tuned.